Hi everyone, I'm Lisa from Pink Holly Bush Designs, and welcome back to Let's Make Your Daughter a Dress. This is lesson 2 in the series. You'll find the links for the introduction and the previous lesson on tools below in the notes. So in this lesson, I'm going to walk you through how to pick the correct size and then how to pick your fabric. So let's have some fun. So first up, let's decide what size you need to make for your daughter. So what you want to do is use your tape measure and measure the circumference of her waist and then also the circumference of her chest. Okay, and you're going to keep it sort of tight like that. See what that measurement is. Now whichever of those two measurements is bigger is the one you're going to use to determine the size. And you look at the pattern, and on the pattern you will see that there is a body measurement size chart, and you're going to pick out the size based on the chest waist measurement. Okay, so let's say that your daughter measures for a size 7 based on her waist or chest measurement, but when you measure her height, she measures for a size 8 because she's taller. Well, you still want to make it this size 7, but when we get to the fabric layouts lesson, I will show you how to lengthen the skirt to that longer size. The reason that's important to determine now, though, is that when you go to purchase your fabric, you want to make sure you purchase your fabric for the size 8, so you have that extra length that you're going to need. Likewise, if she was a size 7 with the waist or the chest, but in height, maybe she's on the more petite side, and so she's only measuring for a size 6, you could go down and purchase a little bit less fabric, and when we get to this layout section, again, you could just shorten the skirt a little bit. Now, one other thing you might want to also check before you go to purchase your fabric is, in addition to the body measurement chart, there's also a finished garment dimensions. And so the chart tells you what this measurement is on the actual dress and what this measurement is in the length as well. So maybe you like dresses longer than I designed it. Maybe you like dresses a little bit shorter than I designed that. And you can compare what the dress is going to be finished to one of her existing dresses to see, oh, you know, do I want it a little bit longer, do I want it a little bit shorter? And you want to make those decisions now before we go cutting out the fabric. So get your tape measure and go measure your daughter and compare it to the chart. And if you have any questions about how to do that, just my email's there. There's also, you can put it in the comments, and you also can post it to the Facebook group. Thank you. Okay, let's talk about my favorite subject now, fabric. So you want to go fabric shopping. What are you going to pick? Well, first of all, July Flowers is made with woven fabric, not a knit. So you do need a woven fabric and some type of cotton. I do have a pattern, May Garden, which uses knit, but it has a completely different construction process. So this series is walking you through July Flowers, and we're using woven, okay? So your first choice among the wovens would be a quilting cotton. Now, a quilting cotton is available everywhere. Your quilting stores, your big box stores, the majority of the fabric are going to be quilting cottons. It's 100% cotton, and just comes in so many fun prints and colors. The one downside with a quilting cotton, and the reason you might not want to use it, is a quilting cotton is a little bit stiffer. Okay, most ready-wear is not made out of quilting cotton. And you can kind of, it just has that little bit more stiffness to it. Now, there is a real difference in quality of quilting cottons, and a more high-end, nicer quilting cotton will have a nicer drape and feel to it, so that can be one consideration. Some brands that would have that, this is an Art Gallery one, and it is lovely. Cloud9, Clothworks, think of some other ones, but all of those would be a really wonderful, good quality quilting cotton that would be give you a little bit more drape than an inexpensive one. Okay, so that is one choice for you. The next choice is going with a broadcloth. Now, broadcloth is more what you will find in ready-to-wear. That's what men's shirts are typically made out of. And I'm hoping you can just see. It's hard on a video. But it just is softer. It has more of that drape. It flows a little bit nicer, and it just isn't as stiff. This would also be 100% cotton. Now, if you're in a warmer climate, or you're thinking of this more as a summer dress, the next option would be a cotton lawn. Again, softer still. And has really just that airiness and that drape. And I think you can see that. Now, one thing to be cautious with a lawn, they can be a little sheer. So that's something you would want to inquire about if you're not buying it in person, if you're buying online. July flowers, the bodice is all lined, so it's not a problem there. It's just whether or not you feel, it's going to be too sheer in the skirt. Okay? But again, this would be 100% cotton and has that soft and beautiful drape. Another choice would be double gauze. Now, double gauze is not something a lot of people know about. I have a whole video on it, and I will link to that. This double gauze came out of Japan a few years ago. It is a wonderful, wonderful summer fabric. Just has a really soft, beautiful drape to it. Again, 100% cotton, and just very soft, and it gets softer the more it's washed and worn. With double gauze, do not get what is called swaddle. That is particularly made for baby blankets. It is a little bit too thin, and I'm afraid you might be disappointed. And again, go to the video that I have on double gauze, and it'll explain, and I'll link to it below, what you're looking for with the double gauze so that it works for a dress. If you are concerned about wrinkling and ironing, double gauze, if you take it out of the washing machine and just hang it, it will drip dry very quickly, and most of the wrinkles will be gone just as it drip dries. So that is just a great alternative. So what don't you want to consider? Well, I'm not going to be talking about how to match plaids, so you probably don't want to go with a plaid. You also don't want a rayon or 100% polyester fabric. You can consider a cotton poly blend, a cotton poly broadcloth blend. Finding those in something that isn't a solid is typically difficult, but if you find a cotton poly broadcloth, imperial broadcloth in some sort of a print, that would be a great alternative. Or if you wanted to do the dress as solid, then that would be a great possibility. And again, the polyester being in there would help you a little bit with the wrinkles, if that's going to bother you. If you have questions about other fabric options, again, just put them in the notes or in the group questions, and I will be monitoring that and answering those. But if you go with one of these choices that I listed, you should be in great shape. So one more thing to talk about in this lesson before you can head off to the store, and that's the other notions that you're going to need to finish your dress. So if you look at your pattern, let's look at July flowers, you'll see that one of the things that's listed is lining fabric. And when I say lining fabric, I'm not talking about the section of fabrics in the fabric store that's called lining. I'm talking about the fabric we're going to use to line the bodice. So we do not want a polyester or a rayon lining fabric, okay? What we want is we have a couple different options here. You could just use more of the fashion fabric as your bodice lining fabric, and there's no problem with that at all, and certainly that's the simplest solution. The problem with that, if you go with a print, and I think you can probably see it on this bunny fabric, you see these little sort of like dark spots on this fabric? Well, that's actually not anything on the fabric. What that is the magenta bunnies from below showing through. And if you were making the dress out of this bunny fabric and you used this same fabric as the lining, then your bodice is going to have these dark blotches showing through, which, you know, I don't like that. I think you're probably not going to like that. So in that case, you need to use, what I would do with this is just use a white. So for this bunny fabric, I would just purchase some white imperial broadcloth to use as the lining, and that's actually what I used with this July flowers dress. Is it just has a cream imperial broadcloth as the lining fabric, so you do need to get some of that. All right, you will need matching thread, all-purpose thread, to match whatever your fabric choice is. You will also need 3 to 4 half-inch buttons, again, to match your fabric. If you find a button you absolutely love that isn't half-inch, you could go slightly bigger or slightly smaller. Not a whole lot, though. Okay? So we have fabric, we have our buttons, we have our lining fabric. Okay. As I pointed out in the last lesson, July flowers is piped here at the waist, and I'm going to show you how to do that, and I'm also going to show you how to pipe it at the neckline and the armholes if you wanted to do that. So if you want to do that, you will need fabric that you're going to use for your piping. It can be the same fabric. For this little dress, I used the lining fabric to pipe it. You could pick something completely different. That's the fun thing about piping. Pick whatever you would like. If you are doing that, you will need some of the piping cord to actually make the piping.
Another optional item that you may wish to purchase is a contrasting fabric. We would use the contrasting fabric for the piping or one of the other embellishments that I'm going to show you in the bonus lessons. If you do want to purchase some contrasting fabric, you will need 1/4 yard if you can get a fat quarter of the fabric, and if not, 1/2 yard.
And let me check my notes. Is there anything else you need? We have, interfacing. Yes. I did mention the last lesson that you needed to purchase interfacing. You will need to do that to interface where the buttons go. But one of the options you have for controlling wrinkling is to interface the whole bodice. And I will show you when we get to that step how that works. It is a practice from High End at Ready to Wear that really eliminated a lot of the wrinkles. And so if you think you're interested in that, you need to make sure that you've purchased enough interfacing that you can cover the entire bodice. You also would want to make sure that you're purchasing either the French fuse, the German interfacing, or the French baby interfacing. All of those are very soft and would not make the bodice too stiff. So a regular, typical fusible interfacing would be too stiff for this application. Again, have fun, go out there and do some fabric shopping. If you have questions about determining the size or how much fabric you need, just shoot me an email or ask it in the group chat and I will get back to you. And next time we'll get together, we'll be laying out and cutting out that fabric. So have a good day and happy sewing. Hi everyone, I'm jumping back on because we had a little problem with some of the video and some of it got deleted. So I have 2 quick things that I need to tell you. So as you know, July Flowers was designed with one of the possible views being a smocked skirt. And in smocking, it takes 3 inches of fabric to result in 1 inch smocked. So that means that the skirt piece here is designed so that it is 3 times as large as this finished waist is. What that means for you all who are doing the gathered waist version in this video, with these videos, is if you want to make the larger sizes of July Flowers, sizes 9, 10, 11, and 12, and you want that skirt as full as it is here, which is that 3-to-1 ratio, then you're going to need fabric that is 55 to 60 inches wide. Now, if you want to use 45-inch wide fabric, and most quilting cotton is 45 inches wide, there is absolutely no problem doing that, even for those larger sizes. Your skirt will only be about 2.5 times as wide as the finished waist, and that will still be perfectly lovely. Most patterns that you would purchase that don't have smocking would not be as wide as full as I have designed this one. 2 to 2.5 times the width is pretty standard. So this is a fuller skirt because of the smocking. The second thing I need to tell you is after you have all your supplies purchased, please make sure to pre-wash all your fabric. We don't want your dress is shrinking the first time you wash it after all the hard work you're going to go through. So what you want to do once you get your fabrics is you don't actually have to wash them, but you do want to completely saturate the material in water. Make sure you get it good and soaking wet. Spin it in dry in your washing machine, and then either hang it to drip dry or put it in the dryer, depending on how you intend to treat the dress once it's finished. So if you're going to throw the dress in the dryer, and that's perfectly fine, then go ahead and throw your fabric in the dryer now and get it pre-shrunk. You'll notice in the schedule that the next 3 lessons are now the bonus embellishment lessons. I'm going to show you each of the different choices that you have on ways you can embellish the dress, and I'm going to run those lessons now so you have time to gather your materials, purchase your fabric, and get everything set. So while you're waiting for your fabric to arrive in the mail, if you've mail ordered it, or you're trying to find a day to get to the fabric store, in the meantime you can look through those bonus videos and see which embellishment you'd like to give a try, and you'll have time. You won't be falling behind if it takes you a couple days to get all your supplies together. So I will see you back here actually on a Monday, when we will have our first bonus embellishment lesson on ruffles. So until then, happy sewing.